A billionaire who was proposed to with a $30 ring. A woman told no more than 100 times before a single investor said yes. The richest self-made woman in her entire country, sitting on a fortune worth billions. And almost nobody outside the tech world can tell you her name. Here is the strange part. She did not inherit a mine, a bank, or an empire. She built the whole thing from a living room on the far edge of the world with an idea that everyone told her was too small to matter. This is Asian Dynasty, and this is the story of Melanie Perkins. By the end of this video, you will understand how a shy figure skater from Perth, the daughter of a Malaysian engineer, turned a school yearbook problem into one of the most valuable companies on the planet. You will see the exact moment it almost never happened, and you will hear the promise she made once the money finally arrived, a promise that stunned an entire nation. Because the money is not the twist. What she decided to do with it is, stay with me. This one builds, and it builds towards something almost no other billionaire on Earth has done. Let us go back to where it starts. Perth, Western Australia, one of the most isolated big cities anywhere on Earth. It is faster to fly from Perth to Singapore than to fly across Australia to Sydney. This matters because in the world of technology, being this far from everything is supposed to be a death sentence. Melanie Perkins is born here in 1987. Her mother is an Australian-born teacher. Her father is an engineer, born in Malaysia, of Filipino and Sri Lankan heritage. So before she is anything else, she is a child of the Pacific, a mix of 3 Asian bloodlines, growing up about as far from Silicon Valley as a human being can get. As a teenager, she trained seriously in figure skating, waking before dawn for the ice, learning early what it feels like to fall down over and over and get back up. And she starts her very first business at school, selling handmade scarves. It is tiny, it earns almost nothing. But watch the pattern because it repeats for the rest of her life. She sees a small problem and she quietly starts a business to fix it. After high school, she enrolls at the University of Western Australia, studying communications, psychology, and commerce. To make money on the side, she tutors other students in graphic design. And this is where the whole story turns. She watches teenager after teenager struggle with the design software of the day. The programs are expensive. They take a full semester just to learn the basics. A single simple poster can eat up an entire afternoon. And Melanie has a thought that sounds obvious now, but almost nobody was saying it out loud back then. Why is this so hard? Why can't design be as easy as dragging and dropping so that anyone anywhere could make something beautiful? She does not try to boil the ocean. She picks one tiny corner of the design world to prove the idea. Yearbooks. Her mother, a teacher, had spent countless late nights wrestling with clunky software to lay out her school's yearbook. It seemed absurd that teachers with no design training were being turned into makeshift graphic designers at midnight. So in 2007, at just 19 years old, Melanie leaves university. Together with her boyfriend, Cliff Obrecht, she founds a company called Fusion Books. Their headquarters is her mother's living room. The product is simple, an online tool that lets any school design its own yearbook by dragging and dropping. No design degree required. They print the books. They ship the books. They handle customer complaints at the kitchen table. It is not glamorous. It is years of grinding, unsexy work. And slowly, it works. Fusion Books becomes one of the largest yearbook companies in Australia and expands into New Zealand and even France. At its peak, it is publishing yearbooks for around 400 schools. For most people, that would be the happy ending. A profitable business before you turn 25. For Melanie, it is only the practice round, because she keeps circling back to the bigger idea. If teachers can design a whole yearbook this easily, why can't everyone design everything this easily? Posters, presentations, social media graphics, business cards, all of it. One simple tool for the entire world. That vision has a name now. It would eventually be called Canva, but in 2010, it is just a dream held by 2 young people from Perth with almost no money and no connections. So here is where the story almost dies. To build something that big, she needs investors. And investors, it turns out, are not interested. Melanie flies to San Francisco, the center of the tech universe, and sleeps on her brother's floor for months at a time. She chases venture capitalists across the West Coast, pitching over and over, and she hears the word no more than 100 times. They tell her a young Australian founder can't crack a global market. They tell her design software for people who aren't designers is too niche to ever be big. They tell her they don't back couples who happen to be dating. 100 rejections. Think about what that number does to a person. Most people quit after 5. Melanie kept going, refining the pitch every single time. Quick pause, because we are right at the turning point. If you have ever been told your idea was too small or that you were from the wrong place to matter, this next part is for you. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, because this woman proves the map does not decide your ceiling. Now back to the story, because her lucky break is one of the strangest in modern business. A well-known investor named Bill Tai finally agrees to meet her, almost as a favor. Bill Tai runs a famous network of tech insiders, and it revolves around an unusual hobby, kite surfing. So Melanie Perkins, to get closer to the people who could fund her dream, learns to kite surf. She shows up at the kite surfing gatherings. She meets the right people in the water, not in a boardroom. Through that world, she is introduced to Lars Rasmussen, one of the creators of Google Maps. He begins to mentor the project, and through him, they finally land the person the company was missing, a brilliant former Google designer named Cameron Adams, who joins in 2012 as the third co-founder. The team is complete. Everything she had been rejected for was about to flip into the exact thing that made her unstoppable. In 2013, Canva launches to the world from Sydney, Australia. Not San Francisco, not New York, Sydney. And it spreads the way only a genuinely useful tool can, by pure word of mouth. A teacher shows another teacher. A small business owner shows a friend, because for the first time, a person with zero design skill can make something that looks truly professional in minutes, much of it for free. The growth is almost violent. In 2018, just 5 years after launch, Canva is valued at $1 billion. Melanie Perkins, still in her early 30s, becomes one of the youngest self-made female founders in the world, running a billion-dollar company. The girl who was told no 100 times is now a unicorn founder, but she is only getting started. The numbers from here stop feeling real. By 2021, at the height of the tech boom, Canva is valued at around $40 billion. Then the market turns and the valuation dips to around $26 billion in 2022, and then it climbs right back. By late 2024, it is valued at around $32 billion. And in August of 2025, an employee share sale values the company at $42 billion. Today, Canva has more than 240 million people using it every single month. It has around 27 million paying customers, and it is generating roughly $3.3 billion in revenue a year, while actually turning a profit, which most startups its size never manage. From a living room in Perth to a company that stands toe-to-toe with Microsoft and Google. So how rich is Melanie Perkins really? As of early 2026, Forbes estimates her personal fortune at around $7.6 billion. The Australian Financial Review put her and her husband's combined wealth at more than 14 billion Australian dollars. That makes her the richest self-made woman in Australia and one of the youngest self-made billionaires anywhere on Earth. Remember, these figures are estimates tied to a private company's shifting value, so treat them as a snapshot, not a bank statement. But the direction is not in doubt. This is real, generational, self-made wealth built by an Asian heritage woman from the most isolated corner of the developed world. Now here is the part that makes her different from almost everyone else with this kind of money, because you would expect a story like this to end in yachts and mega mansions. It does not. When her partner Cliff proposed to her in the balloon-filled skies over Cappadocia in Turkey, he did it with a ring that reportedly cost $30. $30 from a woman who is worth billions. They married quietly on Rottnest Island, a small strip of land off the coast of their home city, not in some rented European castle. For years, the richest self-made woman in the country carried herself less like a queen and more like the tutor she used to be. The wealth to her was never really the point. It was fuel, and she had already decided exactly where that fuel was going to go. In 2021, as Canva crossed that $40 billion mark, Melanie Perkins and Cliff Obrecht announced what they call their two-step plan. Step 1, become one of the most valuable companies in the world. Step 2, in their own words, do the most good they can. And they meant it literally. They pledged the vast majority of their equity in Canva, a 30% stake in the entire company, to charity through the Canva Foundation. At the time, that stake was worth around $12 billion. It was described as the single largest transfer of personal philanthropic wealth in Australian history. That same year, they joined the Giving Pledge, the promise made by the world's wealthiest people to give away at least half of their fortune. She is not yet 40, and she has already decided to give most of it back. So step back and look at the whole shape of this story. A girl from Perth, the daughter of a Malaysian engineer with Filipino and Sri Lankan roots. An outsider twice over, a woman and an Australian in an industry that kept telling her she was in the wrong place. Rejected more than 100 times, she learned to kitesurf just to get a meeting. She built a company that competes with the giants of technology, from a living room and a kitchen table. And the moment she had more money than she could ever spend, she quietly promised to give the bulk of it away. That is the real self-made queen, not the one with the biggest crown, the one who understood from the very beginning that the point of building something huge is not what you get to keep. It is what you get to do with it. Melanie Perkins never set out to be the richest Asian woman in Sydney. She set out to solve one small, annoying problem over and over until the whole world was using what she made. The wealth was just the side effect of relentless, patient obsession. So here is my question for you. Of every self-made story on this channel, does hers change what you think it really means to be rich? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to see another quiet Asian dynasty that built a fortune where nobody was looking, the next story is already waiting for you, right here. This has been Asian Dynasty.